We finally have it, our top picks for the Lost Relic Games Game Jam. Now this list came to be with the help of various people. I took part, a YouTuber and game developer Vimlark, game designer Oliver Joyce, a developer at Ubisoft, the moderators of the Lost Relic Games community, and various others. These are our top picks from the Game Jam. Enjoy. Lawn and Order. Now this was a very fun and original concept, wrapped in a very tidy packaging. In the game you have to control a lawnmower using various plugs, dials and switches. A very complicated way to mow the lawn indeed, and that's kind of the point of the game. It's very tricky and chaotic, and you have to mow all the grass and do minimal property damage. So yeah, I had a lot of fun with this. Benson by Studio Haiku. In this game, you take on the role of a cute little character whose face happens to be an electric socket. This game is so intuitive in its design that it needs no on-screen instructions, like at all. Through carefully placed objects, it silently coerces and encourages the player to experiment and just have fun, As the game progresses, it presents you with ever more thought-provoking puzzles, including using a portable generator to turn on a set of traffic lights to then move a car. Very impressive little game. 15 light minutes away. A very well thought out and beautiful game where you control a rover on a foreign planet by punching in remote movement instructions.
This is mission control. The rover is a target.
The game progresses with rover upgrades and ever more complex levels, which include wind resistance, which has you rethinking your whole approach. There's a lot to like about this game, and I think with a bit more fleshing out, it could very much have a price tag and be a marketable product. Handshakes. I saw this game pop up many times in conversation, and I'm not at all surprised. It's a very simple concept, but executed exceptionally well. Stretch your arms out around a screen and try to shake hands with a friend. Move crates around, unlock doors, and of course try to avoid having your arm cut off. It's a brilliantly simple, fun little game. Wanderland. This game was one of my personal favourites. You wander around this vast, atmospheric and ominous landscape using a thread of yarn to move from one point to the next. A bit like a rock climber moves across a cliff face with its pins. And this game has this cynical cat that follows you around and mocks you at every turn. I just love this game, I really do. And though this yarn system is not completely original, it's used in such a way that it makes it feel very fresh. Stretching your yarn, trying to reach for the next path, and even opening secret doors to progress. An immensely charming and interesting experience. Mininet. What a treat this game is. The objective of the game is to manage the health and topology of a growing network. Packages of data are sent around the network, creating bottlenecks and queues, which you must then resolve by creating new connections and upgrading your servers. There are viruses, denial of service attacks. The art direction and atmosphere that's been created here is so cool. The music, the sound effects, the theme, everything works together in beautiful harmony, creating a very interesting, immersive experience. Rockets. A simple mechanic executed perfectly. And it's a reminder that gameplay is king. As you collect stars, a clone of your ship is created which mirrors your movements exactly. This simple premise creates a very addictive and thrilling experience as you try to fill the screen with clones and avoid impact. There are power-ups to collect and a shifting background color which refreshes the game, creating a sense of journey and keeping you interested and locked in. Desynced Katana. Another very polished game with an original art style and intuitive design, where you play as like a mini samurai slicing through enemies. The hook is, you detach from your shadow, which then becomes a target for the enemies. And with quick reactions, you must carefully choose optimal attack angles while also avoiding being sliced up by your foes. The game is a smooth difficulty curve, teaching you the basics first, then slowly pitting you up against more and more enemies. Lost in Translation. So this is a very original idea where you land on an alien planet and have to learn the language of the locals. Very beautiful, as you can tell here. The art direction is absolutely astounding. The polish and just this concept of learning and deciphering languages was pretty cool. But admittedly, I did personally have some issues learning how to translate these languages. But with that said, I can tell there is something definitely here. But I just feel that early difficulty curve needed to be kind of smoothed out a little bit. The Sunflower. Now, I really loved this game and it really took me back to the 90s era arcades with games like Snow Brothers. The objective of this game is to water a sunflower while avoiding enemies so that it can grow and you can ascend to the next area. Killing enemies rewards you with water and getting hit takes your water away, which leads to an exciting tussle between an assortment of interesting enemies as you attempt to reach the last level. Energy Crisis, a very clever node progression system wrapped in a beautiful theme and excellent design. The objective of the game is to work your way across the landscape, jumping from structure to structure, powering them up as you go. Each structure you jump to either grants or costs you energy, which is represented by the battery gauge in the lower right. So your journey across this land becomes very strategic as you start to carefully examine the buildings you're going to jump to. It's a very, very cool design and just beautiful art direction with a lot of character and flair. Connect all the bots. This is a tight puzzler with an interesting spin. You see, you move around this 8-bit style dungeon with AI bots lurking around, and when they fall into your line of sight, they will then follow your exact movements. Now this then leads to an interesting situation where you have to get them and yourself to these circuit pads. And while the mechanic itself is interesting enough, it's the whole package this game came in that makes it so special. These visuals and the music, it's really cool. Marv's Open Mic. Now this is something completely different. You take on the role of a nervous amateur musician who is struggling to come up with a song. Clicking on different objects in the room will have the musician singing about those objects. Take too long and the crowd gets restless. What this game lacks in dynamic visuals, it makes up for in audio design and originality of concept. Constellar Express. Now this game is really cool and I'm glad I came across it. It's a roguelike where you work through a multi-carriage train, fighting monsters through a very clever little mini-game. You see, to fight, you maneuver an arrow around a network of nodes by clicking them. Capturing enemy nodes grants you an attack, and if an enemy reaches your center node, you take damage. Simple, right? But as you progress through the carriages, you unlock perks, the networks get more complex. I mean, it's just a very clever core system. Alone, without the theme, this minigame alone would still be fun. But then wrap it up in this beautiful layer of abstraction. I absolutely love it. Toy Cavers by Ismael Rodriguez. Now this is a super polished and intuitive platformer where you control two tethered miners working through a vast underground labyrinth. It's sort of like combining Spelunky and Get Over It. I mean, this game was really exceptional in all aspects, but notably game design. It's just so intuitive and fun. Ismael clearly has an intimate understanding of the game design principles. The difficulty curve is tuned in a way that the game never becomes frustrating. Even when you die, you just keep wanting to have another attempt until you eventually get it. The agency is always with the player. This game, a free jam game, is better than a lot of paid games on Steam. And I just can't say enough good things about this game. And there were so many other great games in this jam that I would have loved to have featured. Games with interesting original ideas or very tight game design or controls. Unfortunately, there's only so many games myself and the judges can get to due to time restrictions, but in the future we'll definitely come back to the wider group and do some more content. Oh, and I almost forgot, I actually made a game for this jam as well. It's called Face to Face. It's a fun game where you roll a cube around and try to match the faces with those on the ground. I think you'll like it, go check it out. Drop a comment below and let us know what you thought about our favourites. And also, what were some of your personal favourites from the jam? Would love to know.